All right, let's get right into it. When you decide you're going to sell your home, you're probably focused on one thing, finding a buyer and getting the best price, right? But there's this super critical document you sign before your house even hits the market. So today, we're going to break down exactly what that is, the listing agreement.
Now, seriously, before you ever see an offer, you sign a contract with your real estate agent. And this document, the listing agreement, it sets all the rules for the entire game. It defines your relationship, the commission, what the agent is supposed to do. Getting this right from the start is absolutely crucial for a successful sale.
I mean, think about it. You're handing over the keys, figuratively speaking, to what's probably your biggest financial asset. So how do you make sure you're both on the same page? How do you define what a win actually looks like? And that's the core question the listing agreement is built to answer.
And here's the answer. The listing agreement is, when you boil it all down, just an employment contract. You're the boss, and you're hiring a real estate brokerage to do a very specific job. Go out there and find a buyer who's ready, willing, and able to purchase your home. It basically formalizes the handshake and turns promises into a solid plan.
Okay, so for this contract to be legit, it has to have these 5 key things. First, you need signatures from every single legal owner, plus the agent. You need a proper legal description of the property, and of course, the list price you've all agreed on. Now, this next one is super important. It must have a clear start date and an end date. It can't just go on forever. And finally, it has to spell out exactly how the agent gets paid, the commission.
So, you've decided to bring in a pro. But it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. There are actually 4 main types of listing agreements, and you can think of each one as a different strategy for getting your home sold. Let's dig into what they are. On one end of the spectrum, you've got the open listing. This is all about maximum flexibility. You can hire a whole bunch of different brokers, and only the one who actually brings in the winning buyer gets paid. And hey, if you find the buyer yourself, you don't owe anyone a dime. Then you have the exclusive agency agreement. Here, you're committing to just one broker. But, just like the open listing, you still get to try and sell it on your own. And if you succeed, you don't have to pay a commission.
But here's the big catch with an open listing. It can get messy. If you've got multiple agents working to sell your house, who really gets the credit and the paycheck? There's this legal term called procuring cause, which basically tries to figure out which agent's effort was the one that actually sealed the deal. As you can imagine, this can lead to some pretty serious arguments, even lawsuits, between agents.
Now, let's take it a step further. We just talked about exclusive agency, where you hire one broker but can still sell it yourself commission-free. Well, compare that to the most popular kid on the block, the exclusive right to sale agreement. It looks similar. You still hire just one broker, but there is one massive difference. With an exclusive right to sell, even if you are the one who finds the buyer, say your cousin wants to buy the house, you still pay the agent their commission.
And you're probably thinking, wait, why on earth would I agree to that? Well, here's why it's the most common. This type of agreement gives the broker the most security. They know that if the house sells while they have the listing, they're getting paid. And that security creates a really powerful incentive for them to go all out, to invest their own money in professional photos, advertising, and marketing to get your property sold.
And now for the 4th type, the controversial one, the net listing. This quote really nails why it's so problematic. A net listing can create a pretty serious conflict of interest from day one because it can put what the broker wants directly against what's best for you.
So here's how it works. You tell the agent, look, I just need to walk away with $400,000. Clear. The agent's commission then becomes anything and everything the house sells for over that number. So if it sells for $450,000, they get a whopping $50,000. If it sells for $401,000, they get $1,000. You can see right away how this could get sketchy fast, and that's exactly why net listings are flat out illegal in many states.
Okay, so we've covered the 4 main strategies. Now let's zoom in on the most common one, the exclusive right to sell, and pull out a couple of clauses from the fine print that you absolutely need to have on your radar. First up, let's talk about the money. Paragraph 5 is usually where you'll find the details on compensation. And this clause, well, this is where that all-important number goes, the percentage of the final sales price that you're agreeing to pay as a commission. And always remember, this is negotiable. All right, next up is a really interesting little clause called the protection period. You'll see it in the contract, and it's literally a blank space you have to fill in. It's a negotiated time frame, maybe 30, 60, 90 days, that kicks in the day after your listing agreement officially ends. So what exactly is it protecting?
It's there to protect the broker's commission. So let's say your agent shows your house to a buyer, but your contract expires before they make an offer.
If you then turn around and sell the house to that same buyer during the protection period, you might still owe your original agent their commission. But here's the key exception. This clause is typically off the table if you sign a new exclusive listing with a different broker.
Now, this next concept is probably one of the most misunderstood things in all of real estate. You know, when you're a buyer and an agent is showing you houses, you just assume they work for you, right? Well, not necessarily. Let's talk about something called subagency.
Let's play out a classic scenario. So, the Jones family lists their house for sale with ABC Realty. Then, an agent from a completely different company, XYZ Realty, brings a buyer named Harriet to see the home. It seems straightforward, right? ABC works for the seller, and XYZ works for the buyer, Harriet. But that might not be what's happening at all.
So who is actually working for whom here? Well, ABC Realty, the listing broker, they definitely represent the seller. But in this sub-agency situation, XYZ Realty is also legally working for the seller. They're what's called a sub-agent. And Harriet, the buyer, she's just considered a customer. And in this scenario, she has absolutely no one representing her best interests.
And that is the big takeaway here. It is totally possible that the friendly agent driving you around from house to house is legally bound to get the best possible deal for the person selling the home, not for you. This is why it is so important to understand who is representing whom in any real estate deal.
So, let's wrap this all up. When you're sitting down to sign a listing agreement, you're really making three big decisions. First, you're picking your strategy. Which type of agreement, open, exclusive agency, or exclusive right to sell, makes the most sense for you? Second, you're negotiating your terms. What's the commission? How long is the contract? And what's the protection period? And third, you're confirming your awareness, making sure you're crystal clear on who is working for whom.
Ultimately, there's no single best agreement. The right one is the one that works for you. It's all about striking that perfect balance. You need to give an agent enough commitment so they're motivated to go all in while you hold on to the control and confidence you need when selling your most valuable asset. Now that you know the playbook, the choice is yours.